I'm gonna claim the flag. Pedro. Toto.
Yeah?
No.
What?
He was watching porn.
I'm watching porn. Wow. Does it look like porn, you kid?
Anime look like porn.
Name it anime. Stop doing that noise! Melissa! Stupid! Stupid! Who?
Alright, let's see. Let me look at my challenge. Alright, my challenges. Week 3. 70 steps for faithful. Oh, what is it again? 3, seven chests, dog. That's easy. Oh, God.
Mom. So 2 and 1.
Michael, who did you start listening to get your kind of singing style?
James Brown. James Brown and I say James Brown and Sammy Davis Jr. Because I like the kind of things they do, like fast music.
What did you borrow from?
Well, I do most of his dancing on stage, and I just like the way Sammy sings.
Let's go to Salty again. Hybrid. We're gonna be in the first one just to land at Salty. First kill is gonna be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bop. There you go. Told you guys. First elimination. Any, mini, miny, mo. Catch a tiger by his toe. If you wanna let it go. Any, many, miny, mo. My mom told me to pick you for the rest of my life. Okay. I'm just trying to do my challenge. Oh. Wait, how many?
When Michael Jackson was arrested in 2003, authorities searched the private amusement park that MJ called home, looking for clues that would confirm the allegations brought against the singer. They didn't find those kind of clues since MJ was later acquitted, but they did find a host of strange things that were the missing links to Michael's personality. Stay tuned until the end to see why MJ was so obsessed with children. If you want more content just like this, make sure to like this video and subscribe to The Riches. Now here are 10 things Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch. He likes kids. While this is the least surprising fact about Michael Jackson, the content of Neverland Ranch showed that his kid love was on another level. The ranch wasn't just designed for children, but children were included in the design, from the gates to the pavement to the statues, which were of shirtless kids, to the door knockers, which were sculpted to look like two children kissing. A logo of a child in pajamas sitting on the... He liked Macaulay Culkin. Michael Jackson and Macaulay Culkin had a long and weird relationship that started when Macaulay was just 8 years old. Michael met Macaulay backstage at a play. This meeting bloomed into a friendship that saw Macaulay sleeping over at Michael's ranch often, and culminated in Macaulay being named a godfather to Michael's daughter, Paris Jackson. When Michael's Neverland Ranch was raided, a signed and framed headshot of Home Alone-era Macaulay Culkin was found in a secret closet. The message Macaulay inscribed, "Don't leave me alone in this house." What was clearly a movie reference became creepily prophetic when the allegations came to light. However, Macaulay has said time and time again that he had never felt uncomfortable with Michael's presence. They were just two best friends who liked to hang out and act like kids together. He loved animals. The Neverland Ranch contained Michael Jackson's own private zoo. Along with domestic animals like dogs, alpacas, and a herd of cows, the zoo also held an elephant, giraffes, tigers, and even orangutan. The ranch was also the home of Bubbles, Michael's long-standing chimpanzee companion. When the ranch closed, many of the animals were sent to sanctuaries across America. However, not all of them could be tracked down by PETA years later, and some of the animals' whereabouts remain unknown. As for Bubbles, he's reportedly now leading a much quieter life in a Florida retirement sanctuary. Or maybe he didn't. Michael Jackson was a complicated figure, and his video collection reflected this fact. Though known as a platonic lover of children and animals, a collection of tapes removed from Neverland Ranch showed a different side of the pop star. Along with graphic images of adults and children, police uncovered videos of animals being abused. Unfortunately, these were meant to be viewed with pleasure. Jackson's estate denied the content of the tapes, the existence of which was contained in police reports leaked by Radar Online. Michael's nephew, Taj Jackson, even tweeted out that there was absolutely no truth to this storyline. He loved toys. Neverland Ranch was full of toys, children's toys. He even had his own Zoltar machine. Michael owned a wall of arcade games, a collection of go-karts, action figures, stuffed animals, and everything else that a little kid would own. There were several groups dedicated just to toys. Of course, Neverland Ranch contained toys of the amusement park variety too, including a Ferris wheel, roller coaster, bumper cars, a carousel, and 2 electric passenger trains that ran the full circumference of the property. He loved movie memorabilia. Along with toys, MJ owned lots of movie merchandise. Neverland Ranch contained life-size statues of Superman, E.T., Darth Vader, and many other Star Wars characters. Michael even had his own bat suit, which was an exact replica from the 1989 movie. He also owned real film props, including Edward Scissorhands' scissor hands, which were placed under museum glass. Most appropriately, Neverland Ranch was filled with merchandise from Disney movies Peter Pan. He loved mannequins. One of the creepiest parts of Neverland Ranch was that human-sized mannequins were scattered all over Michael's house. That they were dolls wasn't the problem. Dolls would not be a surprising find in a collector's paradise like Neverland Ranch. It's the fact that these mannequins were of children that made it so creepy. Also, they were placed in strange places and positioned in weird ways. They were also dressed up, we presume by Michael himself. 3 mannequins were even found sitting around a desk as if they were talking to each other. He loved Shirley Temple. MJ clearly loved child stars, and even the old ones didn't escape exaggeration. The Raid of Neverland revealed that Michael had a room dedicated to 1930s child star Shirley Temple. One of his guest rooms served as a Shirley Temple shrine. The walls were covered with posters and publicity photos of her. life-size Shirley Temple mannequin that was impeccably dressed in a pink dress and pink hair bow. He liked himself. The only thing Michael Jackson liked more than children seemed to be himself. This is the most understandable of MJ's predilections. Being one of the most famous people on the planet, how could you not admire yourself? At Neverland Ranch, Jackson had statues of himself, masks of himself, figurines of himself, and a robot of himself. He even had paintings of himself in various scenes, including a mock-up of the Last Supper with MJ in place of Jesus and the disciples replaced by some of Jackson's favorite historical figures. He lost his childhood. It's clear from what was discovered at Neverland Ranch that something essential was missing from MJ's life, and that something was a childhood. Because of an important and one that was spent in the spotlight, Michael never got to have childhood. Thus, when he became a pop icon, he had anything he wanted. The only thing he desired was
that little dumbass girl needs to stop letting me get in the fucking car.
a belated child. Neverland faced the sentencing. Unfortunately, this overcompensation
I laid down boom in the car.
included problematic behavior, but the reason for this is now very tragic. That's all the 10 things Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch reveals about him. So what do you think about the King of Pop today? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.
Usually, everyone's home around 6 for dinner, but sometimes they're late. On nights like this, I check Life 360 to see exactly where they are and how far they are from home, instead of waiting for them to respond to my text messages. And it looks like everyone's almost home. Time to set the table.
Michael Jackson had a long career spanning 45 out of 50 years. From his ups and downs, the world was constantly watching him. If you're new to our channel, don't forget to hit the red subscribe button. Then give this video a big thumbs up. These are 20 things you didn't know about Michael Jackson. Billie Jean. The song Billie Jean from Michael Jackson's Thriller album was written and produced by Jackson himself. Jackson even nailed the vocals in just one take. The song made music and television history when it became the first music video by a black artist to air on MTV in 1981. Spider-Man. In the 1990s, Jackson was planning on buying Marvel jointly with Stan Lee, but the deal fell through. Later, Stan Lee came out to say that Jackson had planned on producing the Spider-Man film, and he believed Michael wanted to star as Spider-Man. Vitiligo. For years, Michael Jackson claimed that he had suffered from a skin disorder known as vitiligo. Vitiligo causes skin to lose its melanin and gives it a bleached-looking effect. Many people believe that Jackson was bleaching his skin and making up the story. When he died, the autopsy revealed that the late singer did in fact suffer from vitiligo, and he may have bleached his skin to cover the discoloration. He was bald. At the time of his death, coroners noted that Jackson only had peach fuzz on his head and was wearing a wig when he died. At the age of 25, the singer had a freak accident where his head caught fire while recording a Pepsi commercial. He was left with second-degree burns and bald spots all over his head. Escape plans. Because of the nature of the accusations Michael faced while on trial in 2005, if convicted, he would have ended up in solitary confinement for the duration of his sentence. Unknowingly, to Michael's brother, Jermaine arranged for a private jet to take Michael to Bahrain if he were convicted. Bahrain has no extradition treaty with the U.S. His children's godfather. Jackson had many strange relationships with famous people in the 80s and 90s. None confused people more than the one he shared with the child star, Macaulay Culkin. The friendship was so deep that Culkin is actually the godfather to two out of three of Michael's children's most expensive music video. It's no surprise that Michael Jackson would have the most expensive music video of all time. He was an elaborate showman, and the video for Scream starring him and his sister proved just that. The video was budgeted to be a $7 million video, but he ended up dishing out over $10 million when it was completed. He was royalty. Everyone knows Michael Jackson is the king of pop, but did you know he was actually royalty? In 1992, while in the Ivory Coast in Africa, Jackson was crowned king of musicians of all time. In 1984, he broke Grammy records when he became the first solo artist to win 8 Grammys in one night. He still holds the record for most Grammys won by one person in one night. First performance. Jackson was a performer from the start. He started singing at the age of 4, and by the age of 5, he made his first appearance in front of an audience. He then made his television debut singing at the age of 10 as lead singer of the Jackson 5. Martin Scorsese directed that. Jackson teamed up with some pretty amazing directors for his music videos. What most people don't know is there are 2 versions of the Bad music video. The long version plays more like a short film and was directed by legendary director Martin Scorsese. Eating habits. Michael Jackson was known to be a picky eater. He was a vegetarian who didn't really like vegetables. His private chef said he also had a sweet tooth but didn't eat sugar and disliked chocolate. Jackson was a fan of Mexican food and also liked grilled tofu served on skewers with couscous and Moroccan sauce. Muscles, the boa constrictor. Many people remember Jackson's beloved pet Bubbles, the chimp. But there is a lesser-known pet. Michael had a loving pet boa constrictor named Muscles. Muscles was known to accompany Jackson on recording photo and once caused a twisted when he was
Yo, you suck.
The fuck is that?
armband. In 1988, Michael started.
Did you know Michael Jackson had a wig on?
He was inspired to
Because he bleached his skin.
Yeah, I know he bleached his skin. I know all about that. I was one of Michael Jackson's biggest fans, nigga. Michael Gang. Michael Gang.
Why would he bleach his skin?
Because he wanted to be white, I guess. I don't know.
So, you're probably wondering where the controller in today's video is. It's been a little while since we've done a weird controller video, and I think, for the lost time...
Wait, is he in hell?
Especially weird. So, I finally got the opportunity
Huh?
to pick up one of my favorite weird things I've seen.
Is Michael in hell?
The slime controller. This is the Hori slime controller for PS4. It was released as part of a promotion for Dragon Quest XI coming out in Japan back in 2017. This actually isn't even the first time something like this has been released. It's actually based on a previous design that was released on the PS2 in both a blue color like this as well as a silver metal slime color that somehow looks even more uncomfortable than this one. So obviously this is a pretty awkward looking controller, but let's actually break down what it has to offer and what's missing compared to a PS4 DualShock. So to begin with, it is a fully functional controller. It has all the buttons that you need to play games, including a working touchpad. However, it is missing a lot of sort of the extra functions that can fill out, the usefulness of a controller. It doesn't have any rumble motors, which doesn't give you any kind of sense of feedback, and honestly, I really wish it wasn't this thing, because it'd be hilarious to see this thing just shake around a table. I wish we had a shot of that. It also does not have a headphone jack, so you cannot use any headphones with it directly, so you'd have to rely on something that connects to the PS4 directly, like their PlayStation headsets. That can work out. It doesn't have a light bar, which is good and bad. It's going to make sure the battery life lasts a little better, but I sometimes really like the visual cues that come with light bars, so instead you just get a little tiny light right here to let you know whether or not it's syncing, connected, and if the turbo system is on. One of the really interesting things about this is, despite its bizarre look, the layout for the buttons and sticks is actually very close to a standard DualShock 4. The distancing, at least between the sticks themselves and to the D-pad and the buttons, obviously the buttons curve out a little bit, which is an interesting feeling, and the triggers are just way off. These do not feel at all like using a standard DualShock 4.
On our account if they donate like at least
Also, while it's not a function of a PS4 controller, there is a part of me that's a little saddened that this isn't any kind of softer material. Like you just see it as a slime guy, and you think, oh, maybe it'll have a little give or a little plush to it. No, it's pretty hard plastic. Now, one question you might be asking yourself is, if it's a statue this way and a controller this way, how do you actually set this down? There's 2 options. You could set it flat down like this, which isn't great for the buttons, or you can set it down this way when you're in controller mode. Thankfully, though, it does come with an actual display stand that protects all the buttons, so that's actually the best way to do it because it gives you a nice little way to display it and make sure this is all nice and safe to use the next time you want to play a game with it. Now, all that being said, I haven't actually spent a ton of time really using it as a controller yet, so let's go hook this up and see. So one of the things I'm noticing right away is the dead zone on these sticks is pretty ridiculous. Like, you can go a pretty good distance before the game is actually reading that you're pushing a direction. It's not too bad for movement, at least in this game, but controlling the camera is where you really notice it. You can't make very small adjustments carefully. You basically have to hit all the way to see it actually do something. Something else I'm noticing, too, is that while the stick layout is very familiar, having the buttons and D-pad be off by just a little bit on each side where it curves in actually makes it a lot more awkward to reach for those buttons. The front-facing buttons aren't too bad, but if you ever need to switch between the left stick and the D-pad, it just doesn't feel natural at all. And it's really easy to accidentally hit the wrong direction, which not a ton of games have you switching between stick and D-pad a lot, but this is one of them. And on that same note, something else I'm noticing here is that kind of in the same way that the D-pad is awkward to switch between a lot, the front-facing buttons, hitting X and square, and even circle is fine, but if I want to hit triangle, I need to reach higher than my hand wants to naturally rest with where the triggers are, so I need to keep shifting it up and down a little bit every time I want to use that button, which is a little annoying. If you have like really big hands, it would actually maybe even be comfortable, but I have to keep moving. It's a little weird. Yeah, this is one of those situations where the controller works, it's just there's a lot of better options out there, including the one your PS4 comes with. Spending some time with this, I gotta say, aside from the dead zone on the sticks, everything else in this controller is pretty good quality. The front-facing buttons, the D-pad, the shoulders, they all feel good. And I think the thing that surprises me the most is that the actual grip of the controller isn't that bad. If you're just holding the controller, it's kind of comfortable in this weird way where your hands are just very relaxed, holding a ball almost. Where it gets to be a problem, though, is when you do need to start hitting buttons and doing like intense button combinations, just moving your hands constantly doesn't feel great. If you used this in a game that didn't need a lot of rapid button presses, like a turn-based RPG, like Dragon Quest XI, this actually works really well. I would not use it for anything else. We talk about a lot of controllers on this channel, and I feel like you can kind of group them all into four very general broad categories. There's the pro controllers that cost a lot more money but offer all kinds of bells and whistles and fancier stuff. There's the cheaper alternatives that, you know, get the job done and are just meant to be a way to save a little money versus buying another official option. There's the controllers that try to achieve some weird form of control for better or worse. And then there's the controllers that just have a concept they really want to get across no matter what and don't care at all whether or not the thing's going to be usable. This is in that last category. And there's actually a whole history of very bizarre controllers kind of like this that have been on PlayStation. Like I said, there was a previous version of this one on the PS2 in two different colors that actually looked even more uncomfortable because the sticks were even closer together, which is just a bit of a nightmare. But going even further back than that, on the PlayStation 1, there was a Wu-Tang Clan controller, which was shaped like the Wu-Tang logo. That was the entire shtick. Also on the PS2 was a katana controller that just looked like a full-length katana that you could hit buttons on and didn't really have any kind of traditional grip. And then, of course, there's my all-time favorite that we have talked about on this channel before, the Resident Evil 4 chainsaw controller, which is just a mess, but I love it so much. There's a certain dedication to this form of design that I honestly really kind of love, because again, I don't think I would ever recommend to someone, hey, yeah, you should grab this as your next pro controller option. But at the same time, this entire concept of something that's really meant to be a piece that you show off on your desk and then use in front of people as a practical joke is just so beautiful to me.
There's an epidemic spreading. It can expose your lungs to acrolein, which can cause irreversible damage. It's not a parasite, not a virus. It's vaping.
It's been on everyone's mind whether there's a new console war. What are the exclusives? Which system has the best graphics? It's been as hotly contested as PC versus Mac. We're talking about the Sony PlayStation versus the Microsoft Xbox. The two tech giants have been at odds with one another for nearly 2 decades, ever since Microsoft decided to throw its hat into the video game console ring with the Xbox. Microsoft has served as the underdog, always in PlayStation's shadow, but they still pose a threat to Sony's long-standing seat on the throne as the #1 game console company. How did this rivalry begin exactly? And how has it waged on throughout the years during each of the last 3 generations? The history of this rivalry must begin with how these two titans began in the first place. Sony was already deep into the video game industry before Microsoft, as they started way back in the late 80s. The man who would later be dubbed the father of the PlayStation was one Ken Kutaragi, who was a manager at Sony's software engineering department. The console that would make him famous actually started as a joint venture between Sony and Nintendo. The two companies were going to create a CD-ROM add-on for the Super Famicom, Japan's Super Nintendo. It was kept tightly under wraps by Nintendo, but Sony unveiled the project in June 1991. However, not a day later, Nintendo announced it would be breaking its ties with Sony, opting to go with Philips instead to make the Philips CDI. Already, PlayStation's conception was born in revenge and scorned deals. While that is where Sony began, the first PlayStation would be released in 1994 and would mark Sony's first console in a long line that would make Sony one of the most recognizable names in the video game industry. While Sony was enjoying a lofty career with the success of the PlayStation and eventual PS1, a smaller version of the first PlayStation, the turn of the millennium was the dawn of a new era with Microsoft. The year was 1999, and in that year, the PlayStation 2 was announced, years before any competitor would make an announcement on a new console. Today, we know the PlayStation 2 as perhaps the most well-known Sony console in their lineup for having an expansive library of games that was still selling well into the next generation of consoles after it. It was surely the console to beat for Nintendo, and during this time, another company would throw their hat into the ring. Microsoft announced they would be entering the console market with their debut product, the Xbox. While the Xbox did well in America due to the brand power of Microsoft and smash hits like Halo Combat Evolved, the Xbox did very poorly in the international market, which was dominated by Nintendo and Sony at the time. It wouldn't be until the Xbox 360 that Microsoft would have a console that could go toe-to-toe with Sony. To do this, Microsoft underwent a metamorphosis of sorts to redesign the console from the ground up, not only giving it more power and HD graphics, but also a softer, lighter design that would be more appealing to the Japanese and international markets, which was a top priority for Microsoft going into the next gen. Just like Sony had done with the PlayStation 2, Microsoft had released the Xbox 360 before anyone else could unveil their consoles. This would be the console that made Sony take notice and helped set up the battlefield for the war to come between Sony and Microsoft. The source of this rivalry really dates all the way back to 2000, when the PS2 had launched and Microsoft released the Xbox a year later in 2001, already behind the PlayStation 2. Given the massive lead and the brand familiarity, the PS2 outsold the Xbox 5-1 and cost Microsoft an estimated $5 to $7 billion over the 4 years of the original Xbox's lifespan. Despite having innovations like Xbox Live and a massive success with Halo, people just didn't like the system itself. Of course, Microsoft wasn't the only one with a common enemy. Peter Moore had a bone to pick with Sony. In 1999, he became Sega of America's president just in time for the North American release of Sega's final console, the Dreamcast. Now, the story and history of the Dreamcast is left for another time, but the lifespan of the Dreamcast was short-lived, to say the least. There are many factors that led to its demise, but one undisputed factor was the amazing success of the PlayStation 2. It was easy to say that Moore had an axe to grind, as he publicly stated that the PS2 had hurt his console. Moore would leave Sega in 2003 and be picked up by Microsoft to be the VP of Interactive Entertainment. He would leave just in time for the release of Halo 2, and as a publicity stunt, tattooed the release date on his arm. Moore would repeat this stunt for GTA 4.
Some fans think Pop Tarts taste best right out of the toaster. Yeah, looks like a toaster to me.
Going into this, Xbox had a mission. They were still the underdogs in this fight, and would need to create a console that could compete with the likes of Sony's PlayStation. Out of the many moves the two companies had made against one another to be the best on the market, there are two pivotal instances, one for each company, that could be described as catastrophic losses. For Microsoft, it was the infamous Red Ring of Death that absolutely destroyed the legacy of the original Xbox 360, and for Sony, it was the PlayStation 3's initial launch. Let's first look at the Red Ring of Death, cited as one of the worst video game hardware failures in modern gaming, with Xbox wanting to be the first on the market ahead of Sony, and Sony working on the PS3 as early as 2001, coming in second place wasn't an option for the team, so corners had to be cut. One of the big ways they cut costs on production was hiring third-party companies to develop chips and hardware for the system. This was cheaper than doing everything in-house, which is what Sony had done previously. This strategy did have some benefits in the short term because IBM ended up selling Microsoft the specs for the PlayStation 3's core processor. Any one of these components from any one of these companies could result in a faulty system. All in in all, the new Xbox 360 was made of nearly 1,000 parts from 200 different companies, all in a case that was lighter and smaller than their previous console. Of course, Xbox would have its goal and have a launch date set for the 2005 holiday season, whereas Sony would release the PlayStation 3 in spring of 2006. This left the holiday season all to Microsoft. Near the end of development, Microsoft pulled key developers from Xbox 360 to work on the Zune, the MP3 player that no one remembers. What was perhaps more of a detriment for the Xbox was that Microsoft didn't develop enough debugging and testing machines for their system. This meant that units fresh off the assembly line weren't debugged or optimized to the fullest extent. They saved $2 million on a $25 million deal by ordering just a third of the machines they needed to optimize their systems. Game developers were voicing concerns about the system not being able to handle the games they were making. Often, the system's motherboard would warp and the graphics card would overheat too easily. All of the common complaints had one common theme: heat. The original Xbox 360 generated a lot of heat. All of those components crammed together had very little breathing room and caused the system to overheat faster than it should have. According to VentureBeat, by 2005, Microsoft's yield on the Xbox was around 68%, which translates to about 1/3 of consoles coming off the line being unshippable to their distributors. Among growing concerns from Microsoft engineers, the top brass at the company made the decision to go ahead and release the console before it was truly ready. Due to a less than satisfactory yield ratio, when the consoles that were good to ship got sold, they were looking at a shortage of consoles. People were having to settle with eBay flippers, and people were upset about the shortage. But the thing is, Microsoft didn't have a shortage. They did have warehouses full of consoles. It's just that they didn't work. Despite all this, victory was still just out of reach. Even after...
Alright guys, welcome back to another Fortnite video, and in this one it is time for my week 3 challenges guide, showing you tips, tricks, and secrets to help you guys get done with the challenges as fast as possible. Today I'm going to be showing you the location of the star, where you have to search where the magnifying glass is focused on like the loading screen. I'll show you the exact location of that. Also the location of the secret loading screen star for this week, as well as tips and tricks for the other challenge. Use code TheLawmaster in the... already been doing so. Now on top of that, I did purchase that challenges yet. So yeah, of course, opponents, destroy cacti in the desert plus stages. Also stages, certain challenges for this week, but let's go ahead and jump into it with the first one. I want as quickly as possible, but I'm thinking I'll probably just update the pinned comment down below with the as it's great for getting wood, and you can like get these materials super fast, and it's from cacti. So basically the location that I'm talking about right here is right next to Paradise Palms. It's in between Paradise Palms and the Gus racetrack, but as you can see, you go up this hill right here. It's also near that like big mountain, but as you can see, there's this like valley, whatever you want to call it, with a ton of cactus or cacti again. Not exactly sure how you say that. I think it's cacti, but yeah, as you can see here, let's move on to one of the tougher challenges. Either land here starting out or go to Paradise Palms and then make your way over here, but there's plenty to farm and you'll be able to get this part of the challenge done super easily if you go here. But keeping it going here, let's move on to one of the tougher challenges. Farm, and you'll be able to get this part of the challenge done super easily if you go here. But keeping it going here, let's move on to one of the tougher challenges, and this is technically the secret challenge, but it is basically the secret loading screen star for this week. Last week it was a banner, and then the week before it was a star, so it does seem to be following that trend of, for the loading screen type challenges, it switches between a star, then a banner, and so on and so forth. So next week will likely be a banner, but for this week it is a star, and I believe that gets you a free tier if you do find it, so might as well show you the exact location right here, so you don't even have to worry about it. Now again guys, you do have to complete 3 weeks of challenges for this specific star to show up. Pretty sure it doesn't matter which weeks it is, but if you're watching this video like recently after the week 3 challenges come out, basically just, you know, complete the 3 weeks that you have available to you, and you should be able to have this challenge unlocked. It will not show up before you complete 3 weeks of challenges, so just something to keep in mind right there. But as for the exact location of it, as you guys know, they usually hide a clue in the loading screen, since obviously, well, it's the loading screen challenge, and the loading screen has been floating around a bunch on Reddit and Twitter and stuff like that, and the clue for it shows a location location in, well, near the volcano. So if you go over to the volcano, the location you want to go to is actually between the volcano and Lonely Lodge. It's a little bit hidden, but it is this like piece of temple right over here. Specifically, it's the one that's sort of like in the mountain, as you can see. And I'm pretty sure this is where the star should show up. Now, I think it's either going to be on these steps.
Get my squid back.
One hit. 3 hits. 3 hits. 5 hits. 6 hits. I need 9 more. I need 8 more. 7 more. 6 more. 5 more. I got enough here. I'm getting this flapjacky, dog. My ping is going back right there. Just let it slow down. No more sweat juice. Shh. So nice. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's a 1v1, bro. I see him in the tree. Gotta pray me. No, ban east. Up, I did challenges. I did the cactus. When I get the flappy jacket, I'm gonna play one last match and I'm gonna go off. There you go. Pedro, you ready for this moment? 3, 2, 1. No, Flappy Jaxie is mad sweaty. I'm not gonna look, guys. I actually love it, bro. Oh, that's how you spell his name. Yo, thank you that one person for joining my stream. If you actually donate at least $5 and up, you get mods and I'll give you an account for free. How about the Flapjackie? I'm gonna play. Yo, what's up?
Shit, what? Why you always appearing offline?
I swear to God, I swear to God.
Who, me?
Wait, who is it?
Ivan.
What's your, who is? Oh, sure, who is Ivan?
Nah, duh. The gamer tag you see right here. Yo, about the flapjacky.
What is Anthony Rule's name?
What is his name? George.
What is my name?
No.
Josh.
Remember when I detailed the drugs?
Oh, this I
And like, when I saw the messages, the devil was like, no. I'm in
like a Mexican ass.
and I hey girl said,
At first he was sounding like a Mexican ass boy.
oh.
Bet you won't edit. Oh.
Yo, invite me.
No, Jet. You won't be wanted.
I lost a solo dub.
I don't give a fuck.
George, you wanna play on my account?
No.
Oh yeah, I want to play on your account. You got Eli Agent, right?
Yeah.
Who else got your account?
No one else.
Oh yeah, Flammy.
Only the guy that granted my account.
How about me, Ivan? What's up?
You said no.
What that other account?
I'm not gonna give it to you. Boy, I'm finna donate it to the stream.
Yeah, dude. But send me your stuff first.
No, but you know I won't scam you. Yo, but the flat jacket.
I got the same email, but this is my password.
I claimed the flappy Jackie.
I just want your account for that Eli Agent.
My elite agent.
Yeah. Hey, Eli Agent now? Those sexy.
Don't log in right now.
Jet, bet you won't come down. Come on. Bet you won't come all the way down.
I bet I will.
Come on, we out on the street.
I bet I rip your one.
I'm fucking your baby.
I think George gay. Is he always sucking on boys' booty?
Oh, you say you gay? Oh, I ain't
Yeah. Well, now you know. What? You did damage to me?
You out there damage me to you with a cannon.
You wanna switch already? Or you wanna play?
We out. Let's switch.
Alright.
Let's switch.
Yeah. Well, let me see if I got your account still on my PS4. Well, I gotta write your stuff down. I don't got your password.
I sent you my password.
Yo, try not to get my shit banned.
Fuck you!
You said what?
Try not to get my shit banned.
Why you say that?
My nigga, they keep on trying to ban my shit. Sony. I pay my mom $30, and I wasted $30 off her account, and she